Anybody not get a toy? Everybody deserves a toy. Two more toys. Okay. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. Aaron, I don't know if you saw this statistic in this week's Business Week, but there was an article in this week's Business Week about what we're going to talk about. And it made a point that I hadn't seen made before, and that is this year, 2012, we're on pace for investors to buy 750,000 homes. And the article didn't make the point that I thought was interesting is, you know, who's cleaning up America? You know, in every neighborhood, and boy, I've been through a bunch of them, and you have too, where there are homes that have gone to seed because the owner of the home, which is either the bank or the federal government, isn't doing anything with it. I mean, leaky roofs and you know, mold and plumbing that was stolen, et cetera. And it's, you know, the individual investors that are cleaning up those properties one by one. Not only that, you know, obviously they're cleaning up neighborhoods by doing so, but there's now 750,000 people who will have, you know, nice places to live. And in the end, the investor is the one who's making a substantial return. The article did point out the point that I want to make here, because I have a personal interest in it. Of those investors, the fastest growing group are IRA and 401k owners. So there is a whole sea change in who is going to own the houses in America, and much of it is going to be IRA owners and 401k owners, and we're going to talk about that tonight. It could have been that way, it can be that way. There's nothing special that we're going to talk about, nothing that's exotic, nothing that is you should be concerned with as far as legality is concerned, and we're going to talk about that if you want. If you want to meet, I've got this little just sign-up sheet tomorrow, and you just jot down a time so we have it. Kind of move yourself earlier in the day if you can, only because I go home, and it's a long ride back to Chicago. But if we, I've only gone 12, but if you know everything's filled up, you just keep going, and jot down a time you like, and we'll get together. I think they leave me a table either in the hallway out here, or they make me sit in the parking lot. I'm not sure which, so just, it depends on the weather. Yeah, if it's raining, it's in the parking lot. Okay, all right, we're going to talk about self-directed IRAs and using them to invest in real estate. And where it is. Here's my clicker. And I want you to know, first of all, everybody should be very comfortable with this. Self-directed IRAs, IRAs have been allowed to own real estate, real property, since 1974. The fact that a lot of them haven't done it is only a testament to how good the advertising is from the mutual fund companies. So we call these self-directed IRAs, and people think that they're something is unique about them. No, actually, it's the other way around. The original act, which is still the act that's in force, for individual retirement agreements, which is the first, individual retirement arrangements, pardon me, which has been in force since late '74, says what? It says you can invest a part of your earnings in a tax-sheltered account that can invest for your future. It doesn't list what you can invest in, right? Congress, for all the things that they do wrong, one thing that they don't do wrong is they don't tell you what to invest in, which is a good thing. Imagine how bad things would be if they did. So you can invest in anything that you want as long as you don't get current personal benefit. So the classic example is, can my IRA buy a house, rent out that house, collect the rent on a tax-deferred basis? And the answer, of course, is yes. Can my IRA buy a house and then I move into the house? And then the answer becomes no, because by living in the house, you'd be getting a current benefit. So all the investments that your IRA makes is for the exclusive benefit of the IRA. So it's not for your personal residence, not for you or your family. Beyond that, you probably already know 99% of the rules. Do you have a question?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. Yeah. Okay, fine. All right. So with that in mind, let's see. Okay, yeah, I'd like to know if I had, this guy talked to a psychiatrist. I'd like to know if I had a past life, and if so, did I leave myself any retirement money? After watching the result of thousands of investments, I can tell you what I've observed. And truly, I've watched thousands of investments because in my position, the job, all day long investments go across my desk. I see every investment that you can imagine. These are self-directed IRAs. They can invest in anything. And I've seen them invest in anything, okay? And let me tell you what I've observed. There's the groups that tend to be more successful and the groups that tend to be less successful. And the prescription for being successful is invest only in what you know and understand. I can't tell you how often I'll see a person invest in something, I'm not sure about this, I don't really know what I'm doing. And inevitably, it's a disaster. And then, you know, when I talk to them 4 years later, it's like, I should have never invested in that. I didn't really understand it. I said, well, yes, I know. But, so what should you personally invest in, okay? What you know and understand. If anybody in here says to me, I'm a stock market guru, I know more about the market than anybody. I can pick highs and pick lows. I understand when there's going to be deflation because of currency changes in Europe and when there's going to be inflation because of policies of the G20 or whatever. Great. Then you should invest in the stock market. And if you say, I don't understand that. What I do, you know, what I really understand is I understand buying a house, finding a tenant, renting the house, collecting rent. Then that's what you should invest in. It's only stick with what you know. If you are a oil and gas expert, there's some wonderful oil and gas opportunities. I got to tell you, for every one wonderful oil and gas opportunity, there's about 30 awful oil and gas opportunities, and unless you know oil and gas, you're going to step in one of those other 29 each time. So you want to invest in those things that you know. So if you feel like you know real estate, invest in real estate. You feel like boy, I understand tops and bottoms in the stock market, and I can pick them every time. Invest in the stock market. Don't let anybody else sway you from what you know. One of my favorite stories was a guy who came into my office when I first got started in business, which is unusual because nobody ever comes to my office. This is an on-the-phone business, as you can imagine. And he was complaining bitterly about the stock market. I hate the market. I don't understand it. I don't know what I'm doing. It goes up, it goes down. Okay. And so I want to be in something else. And I was kind of gathering the papers while he was talking. And as you would expect, I'm nodding yes while he's going along. So I said to him, what do you want to invest in? And he said, mineral rights. I said to myself, you know, quietly, because you don't want to insult the guy, if this guy can't figure out a mutual fund, how in the hell is he going to figure out what's going on, you know, under the surface of the earth? This is a disaster waiting to happen. In those days, the application was a little different. In those days, the application said occupation. So I get the occupation. I said, well, occupation. And the guy said, geologist. And suddenly it dawned on me, this is the essence of a self-directed IRA. He's going to invest in the thing that he understands. That was December 2009. I will tell you, because we track it, his IRA is now $20.6 million. After being in the stock market for a dozen years at zero. Okay? Invest in what you know and understand. Okay, so let's go on. That's my lecture. Okay, there are two types of self-directed IRAs. There's the standard self-directed IRA and the checkbook self-directed IRA. The important thing about the standard and checkbook IRAs is one is not better than the other. If anybody says, oh, you should use this one because the other one is a problem, I can tell you who will tell you that. It's somebody who sells one and not the other. Okay? There's no advantage or disadvantage to the investment type between a standard and a checkbook IRA. They both can invest in the same things. You can make the same contributions. The required minimum distributions when you turn 70 and a half are the same. Everything about them is the same with one exception, and that is how You physically use them during the investment process. In a standard self-directed IRA, the custodian holds your money and releases your dollars as you instruct. In a checkbook IRA, you have control of the checkbook. That's an oversimplification, but that's it in about a sentence. So, if you have a standard self-directed IRA, which is just fine, and we offer both, and there are different reasons why a person would use them. If you have a standard self-directed IRA, and you want to make an investment, you want to loan money to this person here, you're going to loan them $25,000. We're going to, he's a worthy borrower, you've decided. So we'd ask you to fill out a withdrawal slip, we call it investment authorization form, but it's really a withdrawal slip. It tells us how much money you want sent and where you want us to send it. And then we're going to want you to give us something that we're going to put into your account that represents the dollars you took out. And the dollars you took out would be $25,000. So in that case, because it's a loan, what we're going to probably get is a promissory note. And let's say you started with $30,000 in your account that morning and it was all in cash. So we said, what's the value of your account? $30,000. We look at the bank, there's $30,000 in cash, everything's fine. At the end of the day, if they said to us, what's the value of your account? We'll say $30,000. We'll look at the bank, there's $5,000. We'll look in your account, there's a $25,000 promissory note. So we're still at $30,000. That process is fairly simple, with one exception. It's going to take 5 to 7 days because we're going to want to do a legal review on the promissory note. We'll do a legal review on the forms. We'll check your signature against the original signature that you gave us. We're going to go through an awful lot of compliance steps because when we're holding your dollars, we're very, very cautious about releasing them. Extremely cautious. Not just us, the whole industry. That's how the industry functions. Okay? Now, if that promissory note has collateral to it, maybe the collateral on a house, a piece of property, now we want a copy of the deed, we want all the documentation from the house. So you'll see that if you have a lot of transactions, the standard self-directed IRA tends to bog down. So who uses it? The person who has very few transactions, very low activity account, and they're just fine. If your account is a little bit more active, oops, hello. If your account is a little bit more active, you're going to go to, hello, you're going to go to the checkbook IRA because there, when you want to make a transaction, you've got the checkbook, you're going to complete the transaction, be able to just write the check and complete the transaction. This is going to be important for real estate investors because imagine that little scenario I just talked about with the simple promissory note, doing a real estate closing, and we've all been to real estate closings. It's sort of a carnival of paper, and sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here, and it keeps going around the table and keeps signing and signing and signing until you don't even know what you're signing anymore. We have all done it, been all frustrated by it. Imagine doing that when one of the parties, the IRA company, that's actually holding the funds, isn't at the table, and we're on the phone. And so real estate closings are really pretty awful in standard self-directed IRAs. We do them, but they're pretty awful in standard self-directed IRAs. And sometimes they'll drag into, we've had real estate closings on standards drag into 2 and 3 days just because there's so many back and forths. The other thing about a checkbook IRA for real estate is real estate can be an active procedure. It can be an active participatory sport. Not only is there the 2 tax bills a year that we all know about, there may be 12 water bills, there may be maintenance, there may be other things that go on with that real estate where there's money flowing in, money flowing out, there's 12 rent checks coming in. So there's a lot of activity in real estate. So almost always we'll find real estate in the checkbook IRA. It actually is interesting in that checkbook IRAs are more money to start. They tend to be much less expensive for real estate only because there's so few administrative costs. The standard self-directed IRAs are administrative intense. So if you're going to be a passive investor, the guy who buys one investment, no problem. Standard IRA is just a fine vehicle. You're going to be a more active investor. You're going to have multiple investments. Checkbook IRAs are going to be a lot less costly over their life. Okay. Well, We'll talk more about those. We'll talk more about checkbook IRAs tonight only because that's what many people here would be using. So we're going to talk about selecting the right IRA for your needs. So if your IRA is going to buy income-producing property, you want to consider a checkbook IRA for the reasons we just talked about. If your IRA is going to own several assets, you want to consider a checkbook IRA. Again, you probably had multiple closings by this time. And IRA companies charge for IRAs. Self-directed IRA companies do not participate in your asset. We don't participate in your profits. We don't participate in your earnings. And so we do charge for the administrative service that we perform and the setup fees, et cetera. So if you're going to own several assets, how do we charge? We charge per asset. If you have a standard self-directed IRA and you've made 3 investments, you have 3 houses, now we've got 3 assets that we're tracking and 3 assets that we will charge you for. If you have a checkbook IRA, you have 1 asset, and that is the IRA LLC. Now, inside that IRA LLC, you may have 3 houses, or 6 houses, or 12 houses. We don't count those because we only count the 1 investment. The 1 investment was the IRA LLC. So in the long run, these are much, much less costly. Not only more convenient, but much less costly. You're going to write several checks a year. Well, we kind of did that already. There's a fee if we write the checks for you. If you write the check yourself, there's no fee. If you're going to buy at auction, when we first put this in here, most of the auction buyers were, all the auction buyers, were tax lien investors. If you are interested in trading, investing in tax liens, you know they are traded at auction, and you have to settle promptly. A lot of them are 5 hours. There's a few that let you go overnight, but very few. Most of them are 5 hours. There's no way you can settle an auction, get the paperwork to us, have us go through the legal review, get the check back to you, you get it to the auction, you get the transaction. What happens is time after time after time is people who buy at an auction in a standard self-directed IRA lose the transaction that they just think they won in the bidding. So if you're going to buy at auction, checkbook IRA. As I said, when we started doing this, we only were talking about the tax lien people. But now we're talking about everybody because look at how many things trade at auction now. A lot of activity happens at auction. The houses sell at auction that didn't sell before. Invest on a tight timeline, the same thing. And if your IRA is going to require anonymity. And that's not very common. But every now and then there are people who want to have anonymity with their investment. They don't want the seller to know they're using their retirement money to make the investment to buy their asset, and so they'll use a checkbook IRA. Okay. All right. So the advantages of an IRA, 100% tax deferred. This is your patient money, and it has time to compound. So by investing in an IRA, the compounding is terrific. And it's, well, you know, every now and then somebody will say, gee, I want to invest outside my IRA. The investing inside the IRA, the compounding is terrific because if you invest outside the IRA, every time you make money, what happens? You have a taxable event. That money can't compound. Inside the IRA, the money does compound. Your IRA can partner with others to make larger investments. So compounding is the big advantage to a checkbook, to any IRA. Yeah.
So are you saying if you sell the house in your IRA, there are no capital gains?
Well, you know what? I'm going to just correct. The answer is yes. But let me just correct some vocabulary. And once we have the vocabulary, we'll be all set. You will never sell a house in your IRA, your checkbook IRA. Your IRA will sell the house, right? Okay? It's in your IRA. You will instruct your IRA to sell a house, but your IRA sold the house. Do IRAs pay income tax? No. And that's the answer.
And to limit your liability, can you have multiple LLCs under the IRA?
You can. You can. I don't want to get too far into that. We have people who do that, although I'll just do it real quick. Not as often as you would think, because remember the property is inside an LLC itself, which has limited liability itself. Then the LLC is owned by a retirement account. Retirement accounts have a set of limitations on liability. So it gets to a point where we're wearing, you know, a belt on top of a suspender on top of a belt on top of a suspender. But some people do it. You know, I don't want to discourage it, but some people do it. But yeah, typically not. We don't see it as often, but you've got a point. Okay, so, but that's the big one. Your question is the important question, is what's going to happen, or what I see happen over and over again, is the person buys their first house, then they buy a second house, then they say, gee, I want to sell that first one because I have this other opportunity over here and the money would be better used in this opportunity. If you do those outside of the IRA, every time you do that transaction, we have a taxable event. If you let the IRA make those investments, it's all money that's there to compound. Okay. Your IRA, okay, it's okay. So with a checkbook IRA, you select the bank that will hold the IRA LLC funds. Every now and then I get the phone call that says, how do I know my money is safe? I don't know, you pick the bank. You know, what do you want me to tell you? You know, I know. So you're gonna hold the bank, then you're gonna hold the only checkbook. You are gonna hold the title to the IRA asset. Now, people don't really grasp this right off the top because, you know, big deal, so I hold the title. Well, just as holding the cash is good because there are going to be opportunities that are here today and gone tomorrow. This is very much a here today, gone tomorrow market that all of a sudden in real estate. And even though I'm not crazy for that, that's the reality. And so having a checkbook IRA is going to let you take advantage of the here today transaction because it's not going to be here tomorrow. There's another investor waiting for it. And so the same thing happens with titles. There may be times when you want to sell the property promptly. And so with a checkbook IRA, you have physical asset, you physically hold the title. And the standard, we will have to hold the title. And it just plain slows it down. Okay, you have almost instant access to the funds and the titles. Okay. So, with a checkbook IRA, there's no delay for the custodian to review each investment, and there's no delay for the custodian to review each document. Even though we do this, I will tell you, we have had clients lose investment opportunities. So if you're going to invest on anything that's got a tight timeline, a checkbook IRA is really the way to go because it just plain takes time for it to go through legal review otherwise. There's no cost or fee per asset. So when I have that third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 12th asset, it doesn't keep adding up to the costs. No fee per transaction, no fee or cost per check, and no fee or cost based on the value of the account. We don't charge a fee based on the value of the account. And there are companies that do. So if you start with X dollars today and have 3 times X, you know, in some period in the future, you're not going to be paying 3 times the IRA fee. Okay, so how does a checkbook IRA function? How does it work? Well, first, the IRA Club sets up a standard self-directed IRA account in your name. Straightforward. The IRA Club will transfer funds from your former IRA custodian to the new IRA. If your money is in an IRA, we'll take care of that transfer for you. That's because one IRA trustee will take a direction from another IRA trustee. So if you have your money at Fidelity, we can call up Fidelity on your behalf and say, and literally the verbiage is, we accept responsibility for so-and-so's IRA in this dollar amount. And then that's the verbiage that will cause them to release it. If, by the way, your money is in a 401k, a 401k trustees can only take direction from the from the account owner, and that's you. So if your money is in an IRA, we'll do the transfer for you. If your money is in a 401k, you do the transfer, but we give you a little handout. It's called the 401k transfer guide. Pretty clever name, eh? 401k transfer guide, and it just tells you what to say when you call up. Okay, so let's have a little schematic. So we're going to open a self-directed IRA account. We'll fund the new account. So here you are. Here's the new IRA account. Let's fund it. Some people can still make contributions, of course. The vast majority of money comes from a former IRA or a 401k. Yeah?
Can you just come on that one IRA contribution? You said some people can still make contributions.
Oh, I shouldn't say kind. Some people do still make contributions. So depending on your age, if you're below 50 years old, the maximum contribution is $5,000 per year. If you're 50 and above, it's $6,000 per year, unless, and then you have all the Internal Revenue Service unlesses. If you're self-employed, so on and so forth, there are other amounts, but in general, it's 5,000 or 6,000, depending on your age. Like I said, there are a few other plans, but those would be the typical ones. The overwhelming majority of the money that we see, of course, is transfer money. Okay, the IRA Club will start an investment company generally in your state. The business form of that investment company will be an LLC. And we're going to designate you as the manager of that investment company. We're going to start the investment company, and the key thing here is who owns that investment company. The investment company will be set up so that it will be owned by your IRA account. Why? Because your IRA account is tax deferred. So let the tax deferred entity own the LLC, not you. But you are the manager. Okay? And so let's do a schematic. We simultaneously start an investment company, form as an LLC, so here you are again. Here's that IRA that we started a few minutes ago. Now the money is inside. We started, the money was outside before, now it's inside contributions, former IRA or 401k money. And now we have that IRA LLC. We're going to give the IRA LLC a name. We're going to call ours the Great Lakes Investment Company, managed by you. You hold the checkbook. You make the investment decisions. Step 4, the IRA Club will manage all the filings, documentation, including the important IRA LLC operating agreement. And then we ask you to select the bank. So at this point, we're going to call you up and say, okay, the IRA account is open. The money's been transferred from the former trustee. The LLC is open, properly documented so that it's owned by your IRA, managed by you. Everything is in order. Please select the bank of your choice. Once you select the bank of your choice, you're going to call us up, say, this is the bank that I want to use. I went over there, I opened a checking account in the name of Great Lakes Investment Company. Here's the account number. And once you do that, we will then instruct your IRA to invest in Great Lakes Investment Company. And that's how the money will move from your IRA into the Great Lakes Investment Company where you hold a checkbook. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, then they transfer the money over to my checking account. No, we know. We instruct your IRA to invest in the LLC. We don't transfer, we invest. And the reason we invest is we want to leave that nice, broad, clear path that shows the LLC is solely owned by your IRA. So your IRA is the sole investor in that account. So the documentation says the IRA owns it, and the actions, say the IRA owned it. Okay. So we instruct your standard self-directed IRA to invest in the new investment company with you as the manager. So now let's look at the schematic again. Here you are. Here's the IRA. And notice that the money that was in the IRA is now not there anymore. We used to have that thing over there that said contributions and whatever else. And, I left my pointer up in the room. That money is now down here in the Great Lakes Investment Company. Now, actually, I got to tell you that this slide is a little misleading. And it's a little misleading only because I'm not very good at making slides. We don't move all the money. There is a $500 IRA account minimum balance requirement, and that's only because we won't hold an IRA account with $0 in it. So it doesn't matter how much you roll in or transfer in, $500 at least stays in the IRA account. Actually, I'll tell you, for some reason, most people seem to leave a little bit more than that, but $500 is the required balance. And so if you put in $55,000, the maximum we could invest in Great Lakes Investment Company would be $54,500. It would be the same way they put in $1 million or $10,000. Okay. Now, how did I put that? Oh, there it is. You know something. How did I be so confused? Your IRA LLC is now ready to make investments because the money has been moved inside. Remember to keep the IRA funds and your personal funds separate. I didn't bring it with me tonight because I brought the other box, but to help you do that, we even, when you open an account, give you a checkbook cover. It's a black checkbook cover with big gold letters out that says IRA account, so that if your dentist bill comes and you've got 2 checkbooks in the drawer, your personal one and your IRA account, you can't pick up the IRA account and accidentally pay your dentist bill, okay? So we make sure we do everything we can. If we could put a mousetrap inside of that other checkbook cover that say, no, this is only for the IRA investments, that would be the best thing. But short of that, so we'll give you a checkbook cover. And by keeping it separate, what does that mean? What it really means is what I just said. Don't pay the dentist bill out of that, right? The only thing that should be paid out of the IRA account is IRA costs, okay? People talk about, what's the worst thing that I could do? Okay. If you wrote a check out of that checkbook for kitchen appliances, right? You bought a house, and the house needed new kitchen appliances, thought that it would make it more rentable, and you write a check for kitchen appliances. Those kitchen appliances should show up in the rental property. If they show up in your kitchen, that would be the violation, okay? And that's really what we're talking about. No commingling. Any questions on that? There's always a felon in the room. You can pick them out because they're the one with a question. So before you go to prison, what is it that you want to know?
Okay, so we brought property back in the 70s, and if we had known this was, we would have put it in, because that's all it's been for, is for raising retirement money.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any way of putting personal business property into your IRA now?
The answer is you and your IRA are separate and will always be separate.
So there's no way to designate it that way?
I have about a 15-minute answer, but the answer is yeah, there's no way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I think I probably already asked you it before.
Yeah, several times. You know, no, I'm kidding. No, your IRA and you are separate. Your IRA cannot buy from you or sell to you. It cannot loan from you or lend to you. Okay? Or your family members. Larry brings up a comment on family members. The Internal Revenue Service definition of family member. Internal Revenue Service definitions, if you work with the IRS, are great because they keep changing depending on what the IRS wants for that particular situation. The Internal Revenue Service definition of a family for an IRA is linear. It's just straight up and straight down. That's all it is. You and your spouse. So my IRA cannot have any self-dealings with me, okay, or any family member, but it's a linear definition. So mom, dad, grandparents, okay? So I can't buy from my grandparents. I can't sell to my grandparents. Children, grandchildren, okay? Same thing for a spouse. No, not same thing. It's a spouse and then children. Your mother-in-law is not a prohibited person. You can have transactions with your mother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Well, okay. Larry wants us all to know that his mother has passed away. Okay. Okay.
My mother.
Oh, your mother passed away. Your mother passed away. Okay. Your mother's alive. Okay, good. Okay. So the point is that no intertransactions, no dealing with ourselves, no dealing with our family. Okay. So if I buy a house, my IRA buys a house. Can my IRA rent that house to my daughter? I get this question literally every fall in tremendous numbers. Why?
Because the kids
They all go off to college, right?
Yeah.
They all go off to college. The phone will ring 30 times, in the first week of September with somebody who says, I've got this great idea. I want to buy a house in Ann Arbor, Michigan, because my daughter just got accepted to the University of Michigan. I said, terrific, congratulations, but no. Okay? All right. However, if I bought a house and my brother wanted to move in the house, would that be okay? Yeah. He's not a linear. So, okay. Either one. Brother and brother-in-law. Either one are linear. He's not straight up and straight down. Mom, dad.
Not a very wise
Well, yeah, I didn't know you know my brother. Okay. So here we go. Let's go to this slide, and I want to leave this slide up here for a few extra moments because this is the most typical format of a self-directed IRA, checkbook IRA. We have yourself, we have the IRA account, which you see is now, pardon me, kind of slipped into the background here a little bit, and now we have the checkbook IRA, which has been funded and has begun to make some investments. So let's kind of go through this. We've got the self-directed IRA is now funded. The Great Lakes Investment Company is now funded, and I don't know why that's there. We'll just do something, see if it goes away. Oh, well. Ignore that. Okay, ignore the man behind the curtain. And you see the house at 123 Main Street, and you say, boy, that's going to be a good investment for my IRA. So you instruct Great Lakes Investment Company to buy the house at 123 Main Street. Okay? Then you see the house at 456 Green, you say, gee, that'd be a good investment for my self-directed IRA. So you instruct your IRA to buy 456 Green. Now you've got rent coming in from 123 Main, you got rent coming in from 456 Green. The ABC company is a company you know, you think they're creditworthy, they want to borrow some money, they're paying a reasonable rate of interest. So you instruct Great Lakes Investment Company to loan money to ABC. Now we got rent from 123, we've got rent from 456, we've got interest from ABC all coming in. I've always wanted to try some tax liens, and I've did that before. Great Lakes Investment Company buys some tax liens. So the point that you should be seeing is that all the activities is taking place in Great Lakes Investment Company, and Great Lakes Investment Company has a tendency to compound rather rapidly because it's not being dragged down by the impact of income taxes on every transaction. Now notice the IRA itself that I said sort of slipped into the background. It slipped in the background because most of the money moved to Great Lakes. The activity is happening in Great Lakes. And every now and then somebody will say, well, why do I still have the IRA? We have the IRA because the IRA owns Great Lakes Investment Company. And if the IRA were to go away tomorrow, then everything Great Lakes Investment Company becomes a taxable event. Not only the income, but the whole corpus, the whole body of the Great Lakes Investment Company is taxable.